talk about the promises and delivery. I did it because they were the right things to focus on, and I am ambitious for the country, and I'm ambitious for what I want to achieve for people. So it's right that I set ambitious priorities and targets, and it's right that we strain every sinew to meet them, and that's what I'm doing. Next, Bloomberg.
Thank you, Kitty Donaldson from Bloomberg. Prime Minister, do you foresee Ukraine joining, acceding to NATO within a year of a ceasefire? And secondly, on the economy, if I may, some economists are calling on you to temporarily raise taxes to tame inflation. Do you accept that raising taxes helps to cut inflation? And what's your message to Tory MPs who want you to do the opposite?
I think, look, on Ukraine membership of NATO, I just probably point you back to what I've just said in detail about how this is going to work and what this summit represents as a very significant moment on the journey towards membership, and when conditions allow, membership will happen. I think that is very clear from today's summit that people's view is Ukraine will and should be a member of NATO. That's what you've heard loud and clear coming out of this summit, and you've kind of heard what I said, that President Zelensky's view about what the summit has achieved as well. With regard to combating inflation, as I said earlier in my comments on public sector pay, it's important that government has a responsible approach to fiscal policy in order to complement what the Bank of England is doing on monetary policy, so that we can halve inflation on its way back down to its long-term target. Now, all the decisions that we make are going to be guided by that. There's lots of things the government always has to balance, but as I said, we've got an upcoming decision on public sector pay, and we'll make sure that we make that decision by being fair to everybody, both taxpayers and public sector workers, but also by being responsible with the public finances and not needlessly borrowing more, because that will fuel inflation and make the situation worse and last longer. We don't want to see that, and that's, as I said, we're going to stick to the course because that is the country's #1 priority, going back to what Beth said, and I'm laser focused on delivering it. Next, I go to the Daily Express.
Thank you, Prime Minister. One of President Putin's allies has suggested that this increased security package could actually lead to World War III. Is that an assessment you'd agree with?
Look, I think, you said Putin's allies, did you say? Look, I think the only person who's responsible for this conflict is President Putin. Right? President Putin has engaged in an unprovoked and illegal invasion of another country, violating their territorial integrity and sovereignty. That is a flagrant breach of international law and the UN Charter. Those are principles which not just us, but countries around the world think are important to uphold. And you've seen that in the widespread condemnation in the United Nations for his actions, and you saw it today at the summit and with the things that were said there. So the person who can quickly end this war is President Putin by withdrawing his forces, recognizing that what he's doing is wrong. He's inflicting untold misery on millions of people, and we are going to continue to support Ukraine for as long as it takes to end the suffering and make sure that they can have their sovereignty and freedom back, because that's the right thing to do. And lastly, if I just go to the Sun, if we've got time.
Thank you. Jack Elson from the Sun. Can you be crystal clear? Would you have made the remarks that Ben Wallace did? And secondly, do you think the BBC presenter should resign so that we can try and get on from this?
Look, as I think I've already addressed the point about Ben Wallace's remarks, and more broadly, as I said, I think President Zelensky, well, I think I know President Zelensky has repeatedly expressed his gratitude to me and to the British people, and indeed other allies as well. He did it very movingly in Parliament when he was in the UK earlier this year. He continues to be grateful for our support and our leadership and the welcome that we've extended to many Ukrainian families. And I think everyone can see that that's how he feels. And with regard to the BBC, I think as you'll be aware, I think the police have asked the BBC to suspend their inquiry whilst they do their assessment, and I think it's right that we let that continue. As I said, I personally was concerned by the allegations. They are serious, and it's right that they are investigated swiftly and rigorously. I'm glad that that's happening, and we should let that continue and conclude. Perfect. Good. Thanks very much, everyone.
All right, so that was Rishi Sunak there speaking at the NATO Summit in Vilnius. He spoke on a whole host of different issues, also took questions from the reporters, where he was asked on a variety of different issues that his country at this moment is dealing with. But remember, all eyes on Vilnius are, of course, on this one crucial issue. What happens to Ukraine's bid to the membership of the NATO military alliance? Because at this moment, as things stand, not even the United States, which remember is of course backing Ukraine to the hilt along with other NATO member nations in this war against Russia, in defending itself, are keen on speaking about a clear and a straightforward path for membership of Ukraine into the NATO. Because the fact quite clearly is this: if Ukraine gets membership of NATO, then, and if the war with Russia is still ongoing, then NATO will be in direct conflict with Russia. That is what is at stake. And quite clearly, what is evident is that none of the NATO nations at this moment want that possibility to be confronted with.